Hello friends, it's Sherry from Turquoise Dreaming. How you doing today? Welcome to my channel and thank you for joining me. I'm here with my weekend scrappy video. So, every weekend since about the end of March, I've been working on, first it was paper scraps. Then I actually, a couple weeks ago, pretty much used up all of mine. I mean, really, the bottom of the box was there. There were no scraps left. I used up all of my paper scraps. So then I thought, well, wouldn't it be neat to just start working on my fabric scraps? So that's what I've been doing the last week or so. The first thing I did was start organizing them so I could figure out what I have, what I want to do. And one of the first things I wanted to try, since I've never tried it, is making these little closures. And the idea and motivation and inspiration came from Karla Frizelle. She does this with her closures, and she makes beautiful little closures for her journals out of fabric scraps. Okay, so just a second, I'm getting my timer going here. It is going, so this video won't be too long, but so what I did was take out this first one I did. I wanted to try just random shapes of scraps. So I'll show you. See, even right here, you see how they're not rectangles. They're just little pieces that I put down. And this one I wanted to try, and I'll tell you, I would say advise against what I did. I would say do not do it. But what I did was I took the pieces here and I did like what Karla showed how to do on her channel, her tutorial, and I'll link her tutorial below. But what she did was start with like a piece of muslin, or you want to start with some kind of a strip of a base. So like I had some muslin like, or I think this is probably kind of like muslin. I know I've used and had real muslin before, and this is much thinner than the muslin I've used before, but I bought it because it was like muslin. I think I bought it at a thrift store, and it was the color of muslin, so I would have some muslin like fabric. So that's what I've been using. I cut that into some strips, and it was really a good chance for me to use some because I haven't been using it. So I've got 2 strips here just to show you what my base is, just a strip of muslin. And I was yeah, I mean, but you could use anything, any kind of fabric for your base. And I would say I discovered, like, decide how wide do you want it, because say you're going to use this for closure. Do you want it 2 inches wide? Do you want it 3 inches wide? Do you want it 1.5 inches wide? Because however wide this way you make it, that is how your little pieces of fabric, I mean, you can piece it together like I did, which I'm going to show you more of. But if you just want to cut little squares, then you're gonna have to have little squares or rectangles or whatever you piece on here, that width, 1.5, 2, 3, whatever you do. So that's why I cut these pieces a little narrow, where I wanted to see how that went. And I'm putting 2. This is just the length of the fabric piece I have. So I cut 2 pieces, and then I'm sewing them together to make a piece long enough to be a journal closure. So that's the base. And so that's what I did here. But like I said, what I did was, instead of like pinning or clipping the pieces on, I used my like stick glue and glued them on a little bit so that I could just get them on there. That was just my own trial. I wanted to experiment. I glued them on there so they'd just be on there long enough for me to get it under my sewing machine and sew them down, right? But it ended up jamming up my sewing machine. I believe that's what did it, because on this next one that I'll show you, I didn't use any glue, and my sewing machine did not jam. So apparently it didn't like that glue on there. I tried to wait till it dried, but it wasn't completely dried. So I think it was just messing with my bobbin or something. And so, I mean, I don't mind that. I think it's still beautiful on the other sides, but, it's kind of like a raggedy type looking thing anyway, but I think it's really beautiful. But just to show you, and I did do a little zigzag and different, straight and zigzag on this one. Again, experimenting. Here's where I sewed the 2 pieces together. So, and this is what it looks like on this side with all the different, here's even some little pieces here. Here's a little tiny piece right there. And then I just use random colors. I kind of was trying to stick with, yellows and greens and kind of flowery and, like that on this one. Here's a piece from a linen tea towel that was the month of January. I put that in there. So really it can be anything. See, here's 3 pieces here all kind of pieced together. And I did 3 stitches. First I thought, well, let me just go right down the middle and get them all tacked down, right? So I went down the middle, and then when I got to the end, I turned and went down the side, and then got to the other end, turned, and went all the way across and down the other side. So that way, by the time I got to this end, if I didn't have this done, I just sewed there or whatever, met up with whatever stitching I had, and that way I was done. So I just did 3. I noticed that Karla did sometimes 5. She did the 2 ends, the middle, and maybe another one down. So it's just whatever you want to do, really, depending on what look you want. I thought the 3 got tacked everything down real good, and I didn't really mind if like this right here was loose. It's not coming off, and I kind of like that. Like I said, kind of raggedy look, but all pieced together, and I think it really turned out pretty. So yeah, I want to do some more of those. So I did do another one, and this one is going to be reds. I was going to pick out all my darker colors, reds and blues and things, but then I found that I didn't have really enough to just do reds and blues and things. So then I just like, whatever, I'm just going to do whatever, grab whatever and put it on here. So that's what I did. And you can see there's all different kind of colors on here. And this one I wanted to try just doing like squares and rectangles, so it's not pieced together like the other one, but just use kind of squares and rectangles on this one. And the 3 again, I got to make another piece to, tie together or sew together with this piece to make an actual tie closure for a journal, but I think it came out really pretty, and I like both ways, piecing in little pieces together and the little rectangles and squares. So that's the second one. So now I wanted to show you a little bit, maybe do a little work on one of those, or actually, and show you first my organization of my scraps. So in this bag, I took out all the strips I had. I had a bunch of strips. I said last week I have 2 bags of strips like this, big Ziploc bags. These are gallon size, and so, I don't, maybe that's not a lot. I mean, some people that do quilting and, a lot of sewing maybe have like tons and tons and, bins and bins and bins of scraps. I don't have that. All I have is these 2 Ziploc bags. Anything bigger than that, like that can be used on a spine, I don't consider that a scrap, because I have all of those folded up, those bigger pieces, like really big pieces, or fat quarters, or bigger pieces like strips that can be used on a spine. I have those all organized in drawers. They're folded and put in drawers upright, so I can see all the little different patterns and everything. So when I go looking for something, I can see, oh, I've got flowered, I've got tie-dye looking, I've got spots, I've got whatever, like that. So I have those in like pretty much 2 drawers that I can open and look in and grab and hopefully find what I need. So again, I took out all my strips, and they're in this little bag. So the plan for the strips is to leave them in this bag and have them available for when I want to make paper clips or the little tie on the top of a tag or something. That's what I use them for. So I have a bunch ready here when I'm making tags, and I need a blue one or a red one, a little string to put on the top, or green. There's some green in here. I can grab something out of here if I want to make some paper clips. That's what that bag is for. This one is little pieces I had in my scraps that I think can be used as trims, but they're not, I mean, one is a couple of these are normal trims, like this I consider a trim, and this I consider a trim, and they were in my scrap bag, so I just put them in this bag. So I'm going to put this bag in with my other trims, and so when I go to look for trims, they will be in my trim drawer, and they won't be in my scraps where I'm not going to be looking for them. These are pieces I cut off of cloth napkins that I used the napkin part for, you know, something in a journal, spine or whatever, and cut these little like they look like little tassels to me, the little fringes here. And so I cut those off so I could use them as trim. I have used them as trim in a page once, and they came out super cute. I just sewed them down like that as little trims on the side of a page, and so that's what I'm saving all those for. So that's going in my trim drawer. And then so the other, you know, those are for trims. And then so I have another bag here that I cut up little pieces of fabric scraps, and these are pinking sheared squares. They're like squares and rectangles, but I like to make little collages out of these. You can make like a 2 or 3 piece collage, like, you know, not necessarily these two colors together, but say you do that and then add a little flower or butterfly or, you know, something else as a centerpiece, a Tim Holtz person, whatever. And so there you have yourself a pretty little decoration on your page. So that's what this bag is. And this was inspired by a friend that sent me some of these. She sent me these little blue ones here. I think they're pretty much blue, and they were pinking sheared, and I was like, well, those are perfect little things. I love those. And so I started making my own, and I keep them in this little snack size Ziploc bag here. So that's another organizational thing I'm doing for my scraps. And so what I have here is some pieces I pulled out that I'm using for the strips here. So when I did the next one, the last one I showed you where I did the rectangles and squares, I did not glue them down, like I said, because it was jamming my machine. So I just basically sat at my machine and cut little squares that would fit onto my base. So say this is one of my scraps. So say I want to use this. So you see it's going to fit on there. It's already pretty much good size, but I don't want to use this whole thing. I want little squares or whatever. So I'm going to cut right here. And I just sat at my machine, and I didn't pin them down or anything. I'm kind of like, you know, I didn't want to be bothered with that. So I just sat there and went zoop right under my machine up to here. And then I took another piece of fabric. Okay, what do I want next? This is some blanket ribbon that I'm trying to use up. So I took a piece of that and cut it. And I was like, okay, let's cut a piece of that. And I put it down I overlapped it a little bit on the last piece, and then zip right up here to you know, be ready for my next piece. And I kind of like, okay, I use this one, I kind of threw them in a pile so that I know what I've used and what I haven't used. And I grabbed another one. So you know, this is all the fabrics I used on that scrap one I just showed you. So I thought maybe we could get these ready. I'm not going to sew them right now. I'll sew them when the video is over, but at least I'll have them ready. And then the other things that I don't have to sew on, I can, see, there we go. I can, and I'm going to put that in my pile of used. So what I'm doing is trying not to really repeat too much, like just it's repeated from the last strip, but not repeated on this strip, if that makes sense. So here's another piece that I'd like to use up. I like this, but I haven't used it in a while, and I had originally used this on, I've made one boho journal. You see a little sparkly in here? That's what I used this on, a boho journal. So, and I'm not planning on making any more anytime soon, so I kind of would like to use this up. So let's see what else I have here. I used the blanket. I used this flowery one. I've got a bunch of scraps from this. So I'm going to put that over there out of the way. I used the little polka dot one. See, I've got more of that here. So let me see. This one here has some pretty flowers on it, and I'm using pieces of this. It's just, see how, this is what I'm calling a scrap. It's just kind of random. I've used part of it, and here's what's left type of a thing. So let's cut one more piece, and then I'm going to show you a little bit of another idea for some scraps real quick before we continue on with this so that we don't run out of time. So if you're working on your fabric scraps this week, you have lots of ideas to work on, and I'm going to be, like I said, doing some of these that don't need sewing. If I'm watching TV this week, I'm going to have these ready to work on during TV time. So like I can cut some of those pinking sheared squares and rectangles, add to that bag. I can make paper clips with my strips that I have ready to go. Let me just cut this here and get a little square for our strip here, our future journal closure. And I don't have a journal in mind for these. They'll just be ready when I have a journal that I think they'll go with, then they'll be ready to go. And we'll have used up my scraps also. So I'm going to make this a little bit squared off here. Got a rough kind of crooked edge. And you don't have to do that. I just want to do that on this one. Okay. So the other thing I'm doing, sorting through these scraps, is making some that I can use for, they can either be used for tabs on your page, on your pages in your journal, or they can be used on top of a, let's see, let me grab one here, on top of a tab. So I have a few little tabs here. I mean, not tabs, tags. So say I want a little tag on top of my tag. That's hard to say. A tab for my tag. I can take a little piece like this, just from my scraps, ready to go, and kind of like put it like this, or fold it over, glue it on, staple it on, sew it on, whatever you want to do. Then you have a little tab for your tag, like that. Now, that would be really cute, right? Okay, so I have all these tags ready to go that I've made. I just got these out of my stash that I've just cut up scraps from manila folders and just put them in this little bag. So I have tags ready when I need tags, but I don't have any little strings or tabs on them. So I thought, wouldn't this be cute to save some of these little pieces, cut them into pieces that can be used as tabs. Wow. So, okay, laugh with me, guys. Okay, so that's an idea for the little kind of rectangle pieces. Use them as tabs on your tags or your pages. So, of course, I have a bunch of those. Like, here's a little piece. This would be cute. Also, if you're using your tags, and say you have a piece that you want to use on the top of a tag, but you can't tie it, it's not long enough, you can just take it and you can kind of turn it in a way where both sides are showing. You know, if you don't want the fabric that's the back side showing on the front of your tag, turn it around how you want it and staple or glue it down. Okay, got some strings here, but yeah, so that's an idea for a little bit longer piece that you don't know what to do with. So that's going to go in my tab bag. I'm going to have a separate bag for little pieces that I can use as tabs. And that goes for lace too. Like here's a piece of lace. And here's one too. I can fold that down and make that a little tab. So that's going to go in my tab. That was in my fabric scraps. So that's why I'm organizing it here and getting it ready for, this is a little crooked, so I'm going to cut that off and get that ready to be a future little kind of tab like that, or it can be like this on the top of my tag, staple with a little tiny attacher, or even a regular staple, or sew it down. So that's going to go in my tab bag. And here's some more little ones. Here's another strip like that can go with those. And this can be cut down to be used as the same thing. Just cut a strip here. Okay, and kind of even it out so you have a piece that you can use as a tab. And you can work on those, you can get those ready. This is a little square, even this I had in my fabric scraps, and I saved this because it's so cute. It's fraying all around here, and I thought it'd be so cute to use in a little collage. So that, you know, it's almost like random, like where am I going to store that little thing, you know? So I have, I'll probably put it in here for now, and then if I decide to put it somewhere else, I will. Here's another one that can be used. It's just a little rectangle. I don't think I showed you this one yet, but if I did, sorry. But anyway, all these can be used as little tabs. Here's another one, just a short little strip of ribbon. Like, what do I do with that? Do I throw it in the trash? You kind of like hate to throw it in the trash, so there you go. You have a little topper for your tag, like this. So cute, right? And that's going to go in my little tab bag. So that was my other idea of things to cut up. But my number one priority this week is going to be using these to make a few more of these. You can make, you know, have these really pretty closures and use up quite a few of your scraps. So that's going to be my number one thing this week. And so if you just want to craft along with me for a minute here, and we will make a few more. I just need to keep track of my time. So I need to reach across here for a second. Check my time. I've got about 8 minutes. So this is another pretty piece that I need to cut down to fit. And so I'm going to cut this kind of jagged edge off here, or crooked, and then just even it out like right here. And so like while I'm doing this one, I'm kind of also like, say I can also be thinking of the next piece of fabric closure I'm going to use, and just have these ready, you know. And like if you were piecing it together, if I were piecing it together, I would leave this, but I want to make some with regular rectangles. So say I'm going to cut this off, cut this into a square. It's a little starting to fray over here, but I don't care about that. I think that's fine, and it's pretty. I'm not worried about that one bit. So that's another piece for our closure. And these little pieces, again, get them ready for my tab bag. So just, I'm going to even these out, have these ready for my tab bag over here in this little pile. Can you see that right there? I'll push it up here so you can see it's right here. And these are all, let's see, this could possibly be something. It's big enough, I'm going to put it in my tab bag. If it's smaller than that, it may be going into the trash if I can't figure out anything else to do with it. I mean, I could save them for piecing together, but I'm allowing myself to be free of some things that I can throw in the trash, because I just need that for my own peace of mind. Now this one is pretty, this one could be pretty long. Let me see. Let me cut this really thin piece off the bottom here and see if we can cut a long strip here. It's almost like you have to look at the potential of each piece. So this, it's probably not long enough to tie, so I'm going to say, but see, I could make a nice little topper and a tag with this. I might want to just even this out a little bit, so something like that. So cute with the flowers. So that's going to go in my tab bag, and this one probably too. Let's just even it out and get it ready to go. So that piece is used. This is going to be on, and I might leave it this size for the next, because I need to have, I think it might be fun to have different sizes on here, just not all square. So like this can be a rectangle for my next strip. And let's see if I can find, so I used this one, I used this one. Move things around here so I can see what I've used. I have used this green flowers, I've used this yellow, I'm going to call it daisy, yellow daisy. Here's a little piece I can get ready for my tab bag. So you're kind of organizing and crafting with me here. This is going to go, this is for the next strip. Here's a little piece of lace here. Let's get this ready for our tab bag. See, there we go. We have a nice little tab there. I'm just going to even it up a tiny bit there. Okay, that's ready. Okay, this red, I was using this a little bit as I just did this. So you can do that if you want, if you don't mind a smaller little piece in your overall closure here. I did that on the last one, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to save this possibly to make into a strip or a string or a topper for a tag, you see. Or it can be a tab. You can fold it over like this on a page. You can have little tabs like this. Say you want to use this. Perfect little thing to sew or glue or staple on the edge of a page and have a little tab. So that can go into my tab bag. I'll go ahead and do both of these pieces. So these are done, and these are pinking sheared on the edge, and I could pinking shear the whole thing if I wanted to. I do have my pinking shears here in case I want to use them, so I could show you how that looks. This has got a fold on it. I don't know why. I guess it's how it came. I don't know what it's from, but let's just go ahead and see if I can cut that off. These are my fabric. These are my fabric scissors. Not wanting to cut this very well. There we go. I was like, why aren't these cutting? See, now it looks pretty with the pinking shears on both edges. And again, still it can be a little tab on a tab on a tag or on a page. So that's going to go in my tab bag. Okay, so what have we used? We've used this. We haven't used this pink one yet. And here's a little piece. Let's see what we can do with this. This needs to be evened up here. I think this is going to be a tab. Not big enough for our strip here. This, I'm not sure if we can save this one or not. Let's see. Yep, there's a little rectangle. So that's going to go in my little pieces. And so, yeah, I have a bigger piece here that I can cut some squares and rectangles out of. So this was a scrap from another sewing project. Let's see if I can get a squares out of this piece here. Let's see, what's the width? About right there. And then let me even this. Let's see, how can I do this? Cut this even here, or about even. Okay, and then I'm going to make a rectangle here, so like I said, so I don't have all squares. So let's cut this one a little longer. That'll go right here. All right, and see, it does take a little while to get all your little pieces together. So, you know, Karla, when I watched her, she made it look easy, but it really does take some time to get this all together. So let's see, I haven't used any of this red one yet. This is a scrap, and this one is also folded. So this one is a good one to use as for rectangles, because see how it's shaped, and you know, if I try to cut a square out of there, I'm going to have some scraps. So I can just go like, put it down on my strip, see where I need to cut, about right there, and have another rectangle for my closure strip here. Okay, so I use this red one now, and so you can really make a lot of these. You can see a little bit goes a long way, really. So you can make if you have, you know, even just a little bit of scraps like I have, you can make a lot of these, you know, closures. So let's see, we used the pink. Oh, we didn't use this red, white, and blue one yet. Let's try this. Oh, I have a dragonfly here I wanted to use up, believe it or not. I think it's the same fabric, but I was doing some stamping and I haven't used it anywhere, so I thought it would be cool just to go ahead and use it right here. But I kind of cut off the excess, bit of the excess when I used another piece in another one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one too. And okay, let me move my stuff around here for a second. Reach over here and grab my timer and check my time. Oh yes, I have to go. Okay, so this is going to be my next piece. I'm going to add this dragonfly and a few more pieces and sew this together. I'm going to be working on these scraps this week, and I'll come back next weekend and show you where I'm at. See how many scraps I have left by next weekend. So I hope this has given you lots of great ideas to use up some of your scraps this week, and that you will do it along with me. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Happy crafting.